Hi guys, I wanted to talk to you just briefly about energy blocks. I've got this course called Reiki Block Removal. I'm recording this in July 2024. I'm sure I will leave it on the website for posterity. I run this course a couple of times a year, the Reiki Block Removal. There's one coming up on Saturday the 13th of July. It's for Reiki 2 and above. So if it calls to you, if you're a Reiki person, Reiki practitioner or Reiki master, then please do jump on. I'll leave a link under here somewhere. But I wanted to talk about it as a concept because we don't really talk about it in Reiki. And in shamanism, in shamanic healing, we talk about it a lot. You might have heard it referred to as, dealing with intrusions. You might have heard about it referred to as extraction work. In my shamanic training, we looked at it in those kind of terms. And I've been trained in different ways in shamanic healing, and obviously I've been doing Reiki for just as long. It'll be 20 years this year. Doing Reiki and doing shamanic healing, and there's lots of ways that I think Reiki makes the extraction process better. And so I created Reiki Block Removal, the first iteration of it I think was in 2008 or 2009, and it's just kind of grown over time with my experience, I guess, and with the experience of talking to people about how we do it. So we'll do a bit of shamanic journeying and some direct perception of the energy body, which we do actually do in Reiki. I learned it in my shamanic training, but I also learned it in my Reiki master level training. So it's something that some of you might be familiar with anyway as Reiki people. The reason I created the shamanic approach to Reiki courses is because I think that the ways of perceiving energy and, for want of a better phrase, manipulating energy, I think that is better and more powerful in shamanic healing. It's kind of what we do as a given, is perceive the energetic world and therefore the physical world, ordinary and non-ordinary reality together. We view it in a certain way and to the point where we can literally see it, literally feel it in our hands. We don't necessarily develop our perception in quite the same way in Reiki training, and I think it's a shame, particularly if you've got that ability. Either you're someone who can physically feel energy, or you're someone who is visionary by nature. If you're very if you're a seer, if you're able to see energy in that way, Reiki will have noticed it. Reiki will have made it easier for you to see that stuff, or to feel that stuff. It does heighten where you naturally are good at perceiving energy in a certain way. So if you're a visual person and you used to kind of see little flickers, people's auras, stuff like that, you'll see that more readily as a Reiki person. It does develop your innate skills and abilities, but you can really hone that. And in shamanic work, we journey and we perceive in the body and we feel in the body, and that's one of the things that we do on block removal, is to just kind of really get in there and see what's going on. As Reiki people, you would have either seen it or felt it in your hands, more likely, because that is one of the first things that develops really strongly as a Reiki person. You will have felt in the body where there are blocks in energy. It won't be a totally alien concept for you. You will have, felt that because it does develop it. The shamanic approach, that sort of aspect to the work, makes you much more aware, much more able to locate those areas in the body. But the reason I put them together with the Reiki is that extraction work in the shamanic sense can actually be, not dangerous is the wrong word, but there is a little bit of a risk. You have to be so skillful to make sure that you don't pick anything up. You have to be so skillful to make sure you don't disrupt anything in the client's body or in your own body if you're doing self-healing that isn't meant to be disrupted. Not everything needs to be moved. And so having Reiki in the equation, it's so self-protective and so balancing by its nature, and there's so much in there that's already kind of coded for working towards the highest good. So putting the two together, it makes it easier to perceive, easier to rebalance and soothe out and smooth out the body and refill the body afterwards. I just think it's easier to do it with Reiki than with any other type of energy. But it also, it makes it a bit kinder on the body for the other person and you yourself, because you are the channel for Reiki and it's constant. It's not hard. You don't have to constantly remind yourself about it. It's always there. So there's something really protective about that. I just think it's a better way of working. To do that shamanic work with Reiki is like, that's the ideal, the perfect marriage of traditions, really. So that's why I put it together, and that's what we'd be doing on it. But I wanted to talk a tiny bit about what an energy block is, and specifically what it isn't. We talk a lot about negative energy, and even, you know, the language in shamanism is a bit gruesome. You know, it's an intrusion. It's you know, it's even calling it a blockage kind of has negative connotations to it that go beyond like something being where it shouldn't be. And the word extraction is quite yeah, I don't know, clinical, a little bit heavy. But I wanted to point out, if it's something that you're looking at or something that you've come across, one thing I wanted to say is it's not necessarily negative energy. In fact, most of the time it isn't negative energy. Blocks in the energy body are, they're little, they're just little blockages in the system. That's what they are. It's things that have become stuck, energy that is not where it's needed to be. It is a disruption to the flow. The idea of seeing it when, you know, when I'm training people at Reiki 1 and at Reiki 2 as well, there's always that reminder. Don't be like, oh, what's that? You know, when you feel on the body, because people will freak out about it. They think, oh my God, there's something going on there. And it's not necessarily that there's something negative in the body. Blocks can form in the body for all kinds of reasons. One is that maybe we were sick. One is that there was an injury, an old injury. You can feel old injuries on people's body, and there's a little block that will gather there because, you know, of a clenching in that sort of energy flow that should be keep moving through the body. When injured or sick, that can kind of tighten, the flow is disrupted, and it may be around the injury, doesn't quite heal up the same way. So you'll find it on old breaks in bones in the body, old things like that. You'll find it in places where there has been illness in the body. It can also build up from medication that's used to treat illness, which is not to say that that should not be taken. You know, if you need to take medication, you should be taking it, but you know, it's also important to work energetically as well and make sure that that's not getting stuck and causing its own problems in the body. It can be caused by posture. How boring is that? You know, I learned, you know, a big energetic intrusion sounds much more interesting, but quite likely are you hunched over a computer all day? Or are you hunched over clients on your treatment table all day? That will be enough. You know, I have blocks here that I have to smooth out quite regularly. And so it's just because I spend too much time on computers, and that's what we're all doing. We're all living in ways, in some way or another. Each of us will be living in some kind of way that disrupts the flow of energy through the body. At its ideal, it will just keep flowing. So there's loads of things you can do. You don't necessarily need to pull this stuff out. You know, doing your regular energy practices like Hatsue, other energy practices as well, not just Reiki ones, although Reiki self-treatments, Hatsue, that kind of thing. But also like Tai Chi, stuff like that, really, really good for moving stuff through the body, getting that energy flowing and removing blocks in sort of a natural way. Also movement, you know, go for a run. You know, go walking in nature, swim, do whatever it is. Moving the body is really good. Resting the body might be what's required. The body will process out some of this stuff on its own. Our body's energy system is quite intelligent. I always think that thing where you feel like you're falling when you're falling asleep, It's like kicking out, you know, bits of stuff from the day that needs to be released. Yeah, the body can remove stuff just through those sort of natural ways of yeah, moving, shaking things out. So sometimes it's just stuck energy that can be moved really easily through movement, but it accumulates over time and becomes a little bit of a problem. Sometimes it's an energetic protection, like a block of spiritual or emotional energy. I have found across people's heart centers and things like that, it's a really regular way that this happens. And then you need to kind of remove it, but it's not negative energy. We always think, oh, there's a, you know, it's blocked off, it's walled off, this is a negative thing. But if we think about that, what we normally find is when the block in the body comes from some kind of spiritual or emotional thing like that, what we tend to be looking at is a protective measure, something that's actually intended to be good for us, that then becomes, you know, after the event, then it becomes something that's not so good for us. But that wasn't the original intention. The block itself in that case isn't bad, but it starts to have maybe negative impacts. That doesn't mean that it is a negative energy or a negative block. And actually those things need to be removed much more skillfully than regular little blocks in the body that have happened just through posture, or the kind of things that tend to gather in the joints of the body. Those, you know, just it's a design flaw. You know, it's we're always, you know, you'll need to pull stuff out of the knees and out of the hips and the wrists and stuff, because it's like, you know, something that just happens with all of our bodies. If there's something that's built out of something that's maybe a trauma, but something energetic that's built to protect us emotionally, something that's come in sort of from spirit in that sense, then what we're then looking at is something that needs to be removed very, very skillfully, very carefully, without disrupting the body. That's why Reiki is so great for that kind of thing, because then you've got that inherent, you can come in with Seiheki energy, and you know, the whole thing's aligned with making those transitions out of being blocked into being open much easier. So yeah, sometimes it's a block that's emotional or perhaps linked to a trauma, but even then it's not negative energy. Hear about it sometimes, negative energy, you know, blocks of energy, seeing like dark spaces in the body and thinking, oh my god, it's this bad intrusion from externally. But it's actually really rare. I have, you know, worked on, I mean, over the years, it's got to be hundreds, maybe thousands of bodies. I don't know. How many people have I worked on over the years? I actually have no idea how to work that out. It's rare that it's something that's an actual negative external intrusion. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you'll go into a negative space, you know, where there's a lot of hostility or whatever, or you're present in something that's difficult to be around, and you know, you might pick something up from there, but those don't tend to be in the body. It's pretty rare. Those will be sort of outside the body, and inside the body you're much more likely, what would be there might be a protective measure against it. This isn't 100%. There's always going to be, you know, weird exceptions to the rules. But in my years of doing Reiki and shamanic work and magical work, and working with so many healers who literally sit in other people's trauma, other people's difficult energies, you know, literally moving them, it's actually really rare for there to be a negative intrusion that has settled into your body. Very rare. What we're normally talking about is something that has got stuck, or something that on some level was designed to protect us. And from that protection, it's then become an energetic habit, which then becomes an emotional habit, that then starts to cause problems. But that in itself isn't negative. We can, again, working with Reiki, it's natural for us to then come in from a point of view of compassion and understanding, and have an awareness that we've built something out of our own beliefs and experience and thought process, that we can then move and come into alignment with something different. So that's not negative. It's just a new way of perceiving, a new way of understanding, and, you know, being in gratitude for that, but then creating something different out of energy. Being Reiki people, of course, recreating our energy, moving our energy, building our energy field every day. It's part of what we do. So I think that Reiki people, all of us, anyone who's working on any number of people, you will most likely have done some form of block removal along the way, even if you weren't quite aware of it. I run this course so we can build that awareness and then do it in a way that's, you know, not necessarily to talk about it with your clients, because again, the idea of it might be unsettling for them depending on who they are. But for us as Reiki people, it's not unsettling, it's fascinating and cool and weird. And so there was plenty of that. Yeah, that's what I'll be getting into on that. But I just wanted to jump on while people are looking at it at the moment, because I'm talking about it online and everything. I wanted to jump on and say, I'm not talking about negative energy. I'm not talking about dark things. I'm not talking about like frightening intrusions that have like latched onto your body. As Reiki people, as healers, that sort of stuff really is rare. What I'm talking about is bringing in a new level of perception and mastery and understanding and of the energy body, and of the way that our energy bodies connect with the world, how we move through the world as Reiki people, and you know, stitching that awareness into our Reiki work as we bring what we know about compassion and about balancing and about, you know, working in alignment with the highest good, about, you know, allowing things to flow when they need to flow, but encasing things in a skillful container. You know, we could put all of that stuff together and it really creates something that's quite powerful, and not about negative energy at all, just about perception and skill. So I just wanted to come on, make a little video and say those things, which I have now done. If this calls to you, give me a shout. July the 13th, Saturday the 13th of July, 2024 is the next one. This will be the last one this year in Glastonbury, but it will be on, it's usually on twice a year in Glastonbury. If you are far away from Glastonbury and you have a group of Reiki people that want to learn this, give me a shout. I love to go for road trips. I like adventures and making new Reiki friends. So give me a shout. And if this calls to you in a way where you feel like, oh, you know, I've been feeling really blocked. I've got these aches. I've got this stiffness. I can't feel the energy flow going like it used to. Whatever. I know there's something emotional that needs to come out, but it's not coming out. There's all kinds of ways that it expresses in the body. And you want to have a treatment like this, then give me a shout as well. We can do that remotely, or we can do that here in beloved Glastonbury. All right, my darlings, that's all for today. Any questions, let me know. I hope to see you at a Reiki block removal course, or at any other of my weird shamanic approach to Reiki events. I'll put links to all of them below. There's a Reiki cord cutting in September and a Reiki sound healing in November. Those are also very, very strange and excellent fun. Hope to see you soon for Reiki adventures. See you later.